The summer of 2025, a year that many would prefer to forget, will forever be etched not just into the memory but into the very soul of Japan. It was a summer of unprecedented heat, a stark reminder of the changing world. On a day that began like any other, with the promise of sunshine, the mercury in Kumagaya, Saitama Prefecture, began its ascent, climbing to heights previously unimaginable. It shattered records, reaching a staggering 42.1 degrees Celsius, a number that would soon become infamous. This wasn't just a hot day. It was an anomaly. It was a historic, alarming milestone, a wake-up call broadcast across the nation. The heat radiated from the asphalt, baking the city in an oven-like atmosphere, warping the air, silencing the streets as people sought refuge from the sun's relentless glare, and lingering long after sunset, offering no respite, no escape. For the first time, many felt that a nation known for its 4 distinct and beautiful seasons felt gripped by an alien, relentless force, something beyond comprehension. The shock rippled from the bustling metropolis of Tokyo to the quiet, serene rural villages, dominating news broadcasts and everyday conversations, a constant, oppressive presence. How could a place with manageable summers, a place accustomed to gentle warmth, suddenly face such brutal intensity, such unbearable conditions? The figure, 42.1 degrees, a new record, became a symbol of vulnerability, of the fragility of life in the face of such power, a stark reminder that even the most advanced societies, with all their technological prowess, are ultimately at the mercy of nature and its unpredictable forces. The heat wave wasn't a single day or city. It wasn't an isolated incident. It was a suffocating blanket, a heavy, oppressive weight over the entirety of Japan, for weeks, stretching into what felt like an eternity. This was not simply summer. This was something far more sinister. It was a profound demonstration, a terrifying glimpse into Earth's rapidly changing climate. The familiar patterns of the seasons, the predictable rhythm of nature were being rewritten before our very eyes, altered in ways we could scarcely comprehend. Japan, for a time, became a land on fire, a nation struggling to cope with an unprecedented crisis. This extraordinary heat wasn't just a fluke or a coincidence. It was the direct result of a particularly powerful and persistent heat dome. This heat dome acted like a lid, a high-pressure system effectively trapping heat over the entire region of Japan. Imagine a giant invisible lid placed over the country. The sun's energy poured in relentlessly, but the heat had virtually no way to escape back into the atmosphere. For nearly 3 weeks, this oppressive heat dome stubbornly refused to budge, holding the country in its grasp. Even nights offered absolutely no relief from the sweltering conditions. Temperatures in major metropolitan areas like Tokyo and Osaka barely dipped below the uncomfortable threshold of 30 degrees Celsius. This persistent lack of cooling at night was particularly dangerous, effectively denying people's bodies the crucial chance to recover and recuperate from the daytime heat. The origins of this extreme event were complex and multifaceted, including a notably wavier jet stream pattern, unusually warmer Pacific waters than normal, and the ever-present backdrop of global warming, all of which played a significant role. Warmer oceans acted as a fuel source for the heat dome, intensifying both the humidity and the overall heat. This was far from a random act of nature. Instead, it represented a concerning convergence of global and local forces. The event served as a stark and unsettling illustration of precisely how Earth's intricate and interconnected climate systems can align in ways that produce extreme weather events. This was much more than just a bout of bad weather. It was a clear and alarming symptom of a much larger systemic shift in our global climate. The impact on Japan's people was immediate and severe. Hospitals overflowed with heat-stroke victims, especially the elderly in homes without air conditioning. Ambulance sirens became the soundtrack of summer. Daily life was upended. Outdoor work halted, companies shifted hours, schools canceled activities, and commutes became ordeals. The heat imposed a state of semi-hibernation, draining energy and morale. Sleepless nights led to widespread fatigue and anxiety. Summer's usual joy was replaced by dread and longing for relief. Even the healthy felt the oppressive presence, dictating every choice. Social ties frayed as people retreated indoors, isolated by the relentless heat. The 2025 heatwave tested not just bodies, but the collective spirit of the nation. Japan's major cities were transforming into dangerous heat traps, particularly during the intense summer months. The abundance of concrete and steel acted as heat reservoirs, amplifying the already significant urban heat island effect. This made the city feel even hotter. At night, city districts radiated the heat they had absorbed all day, staying significantly hotter than the surrounding countryside and offering residents virtually no escape from the oppressive heat, even after sunset. As temperatures climbed, electricity demand soared to unprecedented levels, placing an immense strain on the power grid. This surge in demand led to overloaded systems and ultimately widespread blackouts across the affected areas. Even the Shinkansen bullet trains, renowned for their speed and efficiency, were forced to slow down, as the integrity of the tracks was threatened by the extreme heat, raising concerns about safety. Beyond the confines of the cities, the natural environment suffered significantly. Forests and wildlife showed signs of severe stress. Rivers dwindled and ran dangerously low, impacting ecosystems, and vital crops withered and died in the fields. Farmers helplessly watched as their vegetables bolted prematurely, and their fruit became scorched and inedible on the trees, directly threatening their livelihoods and the stability of the local agricultural economy. The oceans surrounding Japan, too, were deeply affected, with widespread coral bleaching devastating Okinawa's vibrant reefs as sea temperatures soared to unprecedented levels. These once vibrant underwater cities, teeming with life, were transformed into ghostly white skeletons, a desperate cry for help from fragile ecosystems teetering on the brink of collapse. The far-reaching consequences of the heatwave rippled outwards, impacting everything from bustling city streets to remote mountain peaks and the deepest ocean depths. It served as a stark and undeniable reminder that the pervasive effects of climate change now touch every single corner of our natural world, leaving no ecosystem untouched. The 2025 heatwave was part of a global pattern. Decades of rising greenhouse gases have steadily warmed the planet, and Japan is no exception. Average summer temperatures have climbed, and what was once rare is now routine. Winters are milder, cherry blossoms bloom earlier, and rainfall grows more intense. The heatwave fits a broader narrative, not just warmer averages, but more frequent intense extremes. Greenhouse gases act as a thickening blanket, trapping more heat and supercharging weather systems. The heat dome was stronger because it formed in a fundamentally warmer world. This event is a preview of the future, not an endpoint. Without major action, such heat waves will become common in Japan and beyond. The summer of 2025 moved climate change from theory to lived reality. Faced with the crisis, Japan mobilized with efficiency and community spirit. The government issued heat stroke alerts and worked to stabilize the power grid. Cooling centers opened in libraries and malls, offering refuge to the vulnerable. Volunteers checked on neighbors, delivering water and support. Sales of personal cooling products soared, blending tradition and technology. People carried umbrellas for shade, changed diets, and revived the practice of uchimizu, sprinkling water to cool the air. These collective efforts saved lives and showcased Japan's adaptability. But all these measures were reactive, not preventive. The heat wave forced a deeper conversation. How can society adapt to a hotter future? Enduring disaster is not enough. Prevention and transformation are now essential. The great heat wave has passed, but its lessons remain. 42.1 degrees is more than a number. It's a warning from the future. No amount of technology can fully shield us from a changing climate. Japan's ordeal was a stress test for modern civilization. We must adapt. Greener cities, resilient infrastructure, and restored ecosystems. But adaptation alone won't solve the crisis. We must cut greenhouse gas emissions at the source. The summer of 2025 must be a catalyst for urgent global action. The choices we make now will decide if such heat waves become the norm or a turning point. Our planet is sending a message, written in the shimmering air of a Japanese summer. The future depends on how we respond, wisely, urgently, and together.